Is Reza Aslan okay? You might remember Reza as a guy who has eaten human brains in a documentary that apparently outraged the Hindu world in 2017. He also owns a Twitter account by which he defines himself through the words of his enemy, Pamela Geller. And you know you're dealing with a full-on culture warrior when they define themselves by the insults of their enemies. It's a virtue signal to their allies, if you didn't know. Reza Aslan has not been having a good week. Now, it's not just because of the two shootings that happened yesterday. It's also the fact that he's on Twitter and just hates Republicans with an absolute passion. For example, like, when Ivanka Trump says white supremacy, like all other forms of terrorism, is an evil that must be destroyed, he replies with, "Fuck you, Ivanka, seriously, fuck you and your entire white supremacist family." Reasonable response, Reza. Very reasonable. Like, when Kellyanne Conway says, "We need to come together, America," finger-pointing, name-calling, and screaming with your keyboards is easy, yet it solves not a single problem, saves not a single life. Working together as one to understand depraved evil and to eradicate hate is everyone's duty. Unity, let's do this. That I would suggest is one of the more sensible responses to two shootings in a day that come from a white supremacist and a communist. Or a socialist, sorry. His response is, "You are the depraved evil we need to eradicate." Now, I'm no linguist, no Noam Chomsky. I'm not an expert in what words mean. But eradicate to me is quite a strong word. Me as a layman, the way I interpret that is eradicate means to forcibly be rid of, to exterminate, to cleanse, to remove entirely, physically, in fact. And I guess that's how it sounded to other people, because when someone in a MAGA hat says, "Here is Reza Aslan calling for the murder of Kellyanne Conway. These are the people that tell us our rhetoric is violent. People like me, Kellyanne, blah, 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 are threatened daily." I can understand why the guy with the MAGA hat would suggest that this was a call to violence, right? Because, I mean, like, if someone were to shoot Kellyanne Conway tomorrow, Reza Aslan isn't going to exactly be like, "Oh no, that was terrible. You shouldn't have shot Kellyanne Conway." He's going to be like, "Bravo," you know? So him replying to this saying, "I understand why a gun freak would read this as threatening violence. It's how you all think. I'm really curious to know what Reza Aslan means by eradicate." Like, that sounds so ridiculous. It's in plain English. You would think eradicate just meant to exterminate, to get rid of. Like, how do you view that tweet, Reza? And the thing is, right, if you're eradicating roaches or something, or maybe, an infestation of mice or something, like, you'd be like, okay, maybe we can relocate them or something. But when you're talking about depraved evil, which you are, I just don't know how that's supposed to be interpreted that isn't, "I hate you and I want you to die." And so I really want to know, Reza, how is it that you think when you say you want to eradicate people? Like, I can't even say it with a straight face. Like, you don't want to eradicate, you don't want to kill people, but you want them gone. Are we talking brainwashing camps? What are we talking about here? Are we talking about the aspect of being a Republican that you want to eradicate? So you outlaw Republican beliefs or something? I mean, I don't know what eradicating Republicans means to you. But Trump supporters, should I say. He says, "I did address it. I also love the KKK hood you're wearing in your profile pic. Sorry, MAGA hat, same thing." Amazing. That's just amazing. I mean, Reza sees absolutely no difference. So when a black person's wearing a MAGA hat, that guy's a race traitor, according to Reza. There's no other way of looking at it. I guess he's an evil that needs to be eradicated too? Who knows? He then defends what he's saying here, because someone said, well, there's really no other way to interpret eradicate other than threatening the life of. And Reza says, so when Kellyanne Conway says we need to eradicate this evil, she said destroy. But again, that I mean, you could say that that's violent rhetoric, and I guess it is, towards mass shooters. You know, if you don't want her to eradicate mass shooters, when she said we need to eradicate this evil, she meant shoot it in the face. Probably not. I think she meant through law. I think she meant make sure that these people are given the harshest penalties. Was she threatening the El Paso shooter? Well, maybe she was. Let's say that she was. Let's assume that Kellyanne Conway is physically threatening the El Paso shooter. Is that bad? Like, for you? From your perspective, do you have a problem with her threatening a white supremacist shooter with death by shooting in the face? Because that sounds like what you're advocating for Kellyanne Conway, as she goes after the person you are hypothetically angry at, even though you seem to be more angry at Republicans than literally anyone on the planet. Like the guy who did the shooting, you seem to be in defense of. We are also fed up with you racist GOPers and your bad faith bullshit. Right. Okay. Their bad faith, your good faith. Right. So can I take in good faith as literal intent this tweet? After today, there is no longer any room for nuance, which is a great start. The president is a white nationalist terror leader. His supporters, all of them, are by definition white nationalist terror supporters. The MAGA Hat is a KKK hood, and this evil racist scourge must be eradicated from society. Fucking hell, Adolf Aslan. Like, what the fuck kind of rhetoric is this? There is no longer any room for nuance. The president is a white nationalist terror leader. It's not very likely, is it? Let's be honest. Especially given how the shooter said, well, look, this just wasn't Trump's fault. I'm just like the Christchurch shooter. For this guy, it was the complaint about the demographic changes in the United States. Like, I don't see how a good faith interpretation makes Donald Trump a white nationalist terror leader, especially when today he came out and said, look, white nationalism's evil, it's a scourge we have to eradicate. The same sort of thing that you were saying. Like, the MAGA Hat is not that, a good faith interpretation of that is not that it's a KKK hood. And then eradicating people from society. Half of the country, pretty much, at this point. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Like, it's not like you don't know this either. I mean, you tweeted, this attack's a quote, this attack's a response to the Hispanic invasion of Texas, wrote the gunman, practically quoting your tweet, Texas gained almost 9 Hispanic residents for every additional white resident last year. Okay, but that's factually accurate. I mean, if I checked the other day, in El Paso, something like 80% Hispanic. So, I mean, it would suggest that maybe that the gunman is a psychopath and responding to something that's actually happening. And to you, that's what? Racist? That's just a factual thing. I mean, like, there are victims of the El Paso shooting who are afraid to get medical help because they're illegal immigrants. Like, this is not something that's not true, that there are lots of Hispanic residents in Texas, which is why they want a border wall. And these people are not there legally, many of them. Many of them are illegal immigrants. The other Mexicans think the illegal immigrants should be deported. Are they racist too? Are they white nationalist terrorists? Are they KKK hood-wearing racist scourge that needs to be eradicated from society? You absolute fucking lunatic. Like, this is just so wild. I can't get over it. And then when someone like Will Chamberlain's like, oh, sorry, this was another tweet he said. The president is a violent hate leader who daily promotes terrorism against Americans who look like me and my children. So if you're someone who thinks I should watch my language in responding to this racist pig, you can go fuck yourself too. I can't believe he's still got a Twitter account. I can't believe he still has a fucking Twitter account. And some guy called Will Chamberlain is just like, except you aren't just insulting the president, you slander and dehumanize his supporters, and said they should be eradicated. Lay off the genocidal bigotry for a day, see how you feel. Or just get off fucking Twitter, Reza. Go out into the garden. Chill out or something. Don't have a beer, don't get drunk, because you sound like you're going to be a maniac. But, like, all I'm saying is you seem to be unhinged, right? If you support a racist, you are a racist. And Reza Aslan gets to decide who's fucking racist. And, I mean, like, just, I'm angry. Yeah, we know, Reza. We know. We know you're angry. We know you're really, really fucking angry. But wishing genocide on the other half of the population, probably not appropriate no matter how angry you are. That's all I'm saying. I mean, take a leaf out of Beto O'Rourke's book and just, laugh it off.
I'm incredibly saddened, and it is very hard to think about this. But I'll tell you, El Paso is the strongest place in the world